I wanted to go back to, let's see, 1966. At this point, you're the vice chairman of the Florida front of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. You're in St. Petersburg, and the City Hall of St. Petersburg has this mural that was made in 1945. So it's this mural that's a pretty offensive, racist, stereotypical scene with the big lips and the white paint on the lips. And tell us what you did to this mural in December of 1966.
Well, this was an 8 by 10 foot mural on the wall of that government building, and we complained about it. And the mayor told us that our minorities have to become less sensitive to, this kind of stuff. And everybody knows I'm not a racist, et cetera, or something to that effect. And we couldn't get any relief. And so on one occasion, December 29th, I think it was, we had organized a march to the City Hall to complain about that and about the economic exploitation of the community, how the city government was involved in getting $50 million from the federal government. They get this money, and that's supposed to be helpful to the African community in terms of dealing with blight and things like that. And instead, they were going to use it to beautify downtown St. Petersburg. So we were complaining about that as well. And so we had this demonstration. And when we got to the City Hall, people were standing on the steps, speaking out from the steps, complaining about the condition that African people were experiencing there. And, a little old lady was talking, and she was laughed at by the reporters and by the police. And
she was a black woman, right? The old lady was a black woman?
Yeah, she was a black woman. And, they didn't appreciate, like her command of the English language, and they were laughing at her. And so I found it just, the humiliation is just too much. This old woman and everything that she and black women and people like her have had to endure. And all she wanted to do, she was just complaining of how black people pay all of our money into these insurance companies, buying insurance, and then when something happens, somebody dies, they lose their money. That's what she was talking about, and the police and the reporters were laughing. So, I turned and marched into the City Hall, and this young brother, Jody Walls, who was only 17 at the time, he came with me. And I tore the mural down from the wall, and we began to march through the city of St. Petersburg with the mural. And this was like the first actually direct action of the Black Power movement that happened in this country. I say first direct action, I mean, you have to remember that the Black Power movement itself was born out of the civil rights movement through the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And SNCC was well known for direct action. That was one of the things that characterized it. It was a organization primarily of young people, although Sister Ella Baker, who was the key to our organizing, she was not as young. She wouldn't have been considered young. So we marched down the streets with it, and they arrested us. They arrested 6 of us all together, and locked us up. They charged me with 11 different offenses, at least one of which was a felony. And they convicted me on 1 or 2 misdemeanors, and then charged me and tried me on a felony charge of grand larceny for the theft of the mural, and sentenced me to 5 years in prison. And so I did, about 2.5 years in and out on appeal bond on that particular charge. So that's what that was about. And then later, the Supreme Court would rule that double jeopardy would have occurred if what my lawyer had put forth as a description of events there, and they they removed the sentence and then remanded the trial back, remanded the case back to the Pinellas County for them to make a decision of whether or not what was said to have occurred actually did occur in terms of the trial and it being double jeopardy. And the Pinellas County said, no, that's not what happened. So the court had resolved this issue that it wanted to resolve. I had been tried once for destruction of public property as a misdemeanor. Then they tried me for grand larceny, and it was grand larceny by destruction of the property. So this was a contradiction that the court needed resolving. And they used my case to resolve that so that it was grand larceny if that happened. And so they took it back to, remanded the case back to Florida, and they said, no, that's not what happened. So they had resolved that, got rid of the double jeopardy thing, still on the books today, dealing with that. And then they tried me again. And then this time they convicted me and sentenced me to 3 years in prison. So I was in and out of prison around that case until 1973, when finally, because we had developed a significant enough kind of movement and things were happening in various places around the country and the world, that it became perhaps a bit of an albatross around the neck. And so they decided that they would just sentence me to time served and forget about it. So that's how that happened. But I think that